Hi everyone, good morning. Thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you're all well and hopefully back in your shops and seeing customers in some way. I'm joined today by our guest speaker, Lindsay Sweels, from the CEO for Social Bee. And today she's going to be talking through creating captivating content. And this session actually came out of direct feedback from you guys who were wondering how to make your content be more engaging and how to make it go further. So I'm really happy we can do this one for you. Just a few things, as you all know. I can see the good mornings coming through. That's fantastic. Hi from Brussels and Wiltshire. We are live, so please bear with us if there are any technical issues or audio. Just give us a few seconds and it should sort itself out, but touch wood, we've been okay so far. We will have time for Q&A at the end as well, so please submit your questions via the questions tab and we'll run through them at the end. And as always, your feedback is really important to us, so I'm going to pop some feedback polls in towards the end of the session, so please take a few seconds to just click through. And as always, these sessions will be available after we've finished, so just look out to the email from us and it'll include this session and also some resources that Lindsay's team's kindly put together for you. So with no further ado, I'm going to hand over to Lindsay to start our session.
Thank you, Suzanne. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, subject to where you are in the world. There's a lot of people from the UK, very breezy and rainy this morning. Good old British weather, we can't rely on it, can we? It's like 30 degrees on Friday, and now in Norfolk, where I live, it's blowing a hoolie and very, very cold. Regardless of where you are, thank you and welcome to today's session. I really hope our sessions have been useful for you. You've given us fantastic feedback, and I hope over the next hour I can give you even more value from the great work that my team have been helping you with over the last couple of weeks. So what are we going to be covering today? We are going to be covering creating captivating content. It's really hard to create content, isn't it? People go, well, you know, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Twitter, just start posting stuff. It's not that easy. People think because these channels are easy, it's easy to create content. And actually, it couldn't be further from the truth. So what I want to commit to sharing with you, and it's going to be a bit of an interactive session today, guys, because I know you guys are always quite chatty. So I'm going to ask you some questions and I'm going to get one of you, I'm going to ask you a question. I'm going to pick one of you at random and I'm actually going to create a quick case study on you. Bit risque, but I'm up for it if you guys are. So what are we going to leave you with today? First of all is how to start creating content that fits your audience. I'm then going to share with you how to generate content ideas, because this can be really, really tricky. And finally, once you've created a great bit of content, maximizing it and rinsing it as much as you can to make sure you're not having to create content every day. What I'm not going to share with you today is you need to be posting 20 times a day or anything like that. I appreciate that many of you are one-man band organizations or very small organizations, but the great thing is you guys are in exactly the right place to be able to create amazing, great content, because actually you already have it. And this is the great thing about today's webinar, because people think, oh, I need to come up with great ideas, but actually 9 times out of 10, you actually have it, which is great. So if you're all ready, you've got a cup of tea, chocolate biscuit, hopefully, if I was sitting on your side of the screen, let's get going. So first of all, if you have attended one of my other webinars in any shape or form, you might be familiar with the next slide, but it is super duper important. It's really important that first of all, before we even start thinking about content, we need to think about why you're on the internet and why people are on the internet. First of all, people are on the internet, like you and me, the people from Germany, Brussels, the Cotswolds. We're on the internet as human beings to help answer questions or problems. So we might go on the internet to find out what the weather is like today, or we might go onto the internet to find out what fascinator we should be wearing if we're going to a wedding. We go to the internet a lot to try and answer questions. Now, let me put my business hat on. So as you can see, we've got the human needs in grey, and then we've got the orange needs, and they're your organizational needs. So as an organization, whether you sell fairy lights, whether you sell clothing, whether you sell marshmallows, we have a huge plethora of amazing companies on the webinar today. But regardless of what you sell, you have an organizational need, and that will be to sell products, I would have guessed. If not, you know, why would you be on there? But the thing is, when it comes to the internet, too many organizations are too keen to go, oh, I'm selling, let's just get on the internet and sell. And this is where things get in a bit of a muddle, because we need to find that sweet spot in the middle. So as your organizational needs, we need to think about putting our customer shoes on. Because when we put our customer shoes on, that's when actually we can help sell and be valuable to our audience. Well, something else we need to bear in mind as an organization is there are two types of audiences. There'll be an audience that actually is looking for you and being aware of your organization, what you sell. So they'll be looking for you, whether it is like designer stationery or bespoke jewelry. There'll be people actively looking for you and knowing that your service or your product is out there. Then there'll be people actually are your target audience and perhaps are not looking, but actually through digital marketing, social media, email marketing, search engine optimization, and all of those amazing channels out there, you have the opportunity to be able to engage with those audiences. So the thing is, as an organization, and you will have probably seen this diagram before if you've attended some of our other webinars, is there are lots of digital tools out there. And in the middle of that is your website. And your website needs to be your best salesperson. But it can only be your best salesperson if the signposts that you're pointing to your website are giving out great content. And this is the bit that people often struggle with. And this is what I want to cover today. So how can you create great content that you can then put on social media or email marketing to be able to drive people to your website to buy your products, whether they're business to business products, whether they're business to consumer, whether you're based in the Cotswolds, Brussels, Germany, Zimbabwe, wherever you're based in the world. But what I would like to ask you guys now is, what are you currently posting on, what content are you currently posting and creating for your company? So if you want to drop it in the chat while I'm carrying on, I will have a quick peek. So a quick question to drop into the chat. What are you currently creating content-wise on your digital channels? So Melissa's creating user-generated content. That's a fantastic place to start. Promoting a virtual pop-up. Fantastic. Basic ads about the company, videos on LinkedIn, recipe videos, special offers, videos about daffodil harvesting, storytelling. Great. Okay, so lots of you are doing really, really great things, which is fantastic. But the thing is with these channels, sometimes people think that because these channels are free, it's easy to do. Well, that's not the case. Second of all, people think because they're free, I should use them for selling. Yes, subtly, you should use them for selling. There's nothing stopping you on these channels for maybe every 1 in 10 posts on social doing a bit of a promotion. But the thing is, these channels all need to be used in a clever way, putting your customers first. So what I want to share with you today is coming up with some inspirational ideas. Some of you are doing some really great stuff already, you know, storytelling and bringing your business to life. So hopefully we can do that. We can do that today. So the first tip I cannot stress enough with you is wearing your customers' shoes. And the reason I say that is because people think, oh, I've got a product, let's just try and sell it, whether it's, you know, writing blog content, video content. Just because those channels are there doesn't mean you have to use them. The thing that I say to organizations is, as an organization, it doesn't matter whether you're the smallest organization in the world or the largest organization in the world. So whether you're Nike or whether you're a company that makes bespoke sandals in India, as an example, the amazing thing that you have now is you have exactly the same platform as Nike, and they're all free. All those channels potentially are free for you, but it's the tactics that you use. And it's the tactics, so the tactics of how you use those channels in terms of creating content, that's where businesses trip up. Now, don't get me wrong, this isn't just small businesses that have this problem. The large businesses have this problem on a huge scale as well. I'm lucky enough to work with some of the smallest businesses in the world and some of the largest ones. And actually, I love working with small businesses because you're speaking to your customers every day, you actually have a lot of that insight there already. Where some of the larger organizations, and I was actually working with a large organization based in Slovakia yesterday, they sort of had their customers, but they didn't really get them. So they didn't really put their customer shoes on. They had a product or service to sell and they're like, we've got this product, let's sell it to our customers. They didn't really put the customer's shoes on. So what do I mean by putting the customer's shoes on? What I mean by that is, as an example, if you sell dresses, and if you sell them in a traditional sense, you might have had a retail store, you might still have a physical retail store. When people come into your store, you start to engage with them, don't you? And they might ask you questions and you answer them. That is pure gold. That type of content that they ask you a question and you answer it, that is content. And the thing is, when people think about putting content online, they seem to forget, and this isn't, don't beat yourselves up over this, they forget that actually that content can be used online. So another way I bring this to life is with the telephone. So there is some amazing people on here today. Let me just pick one at random. Let me pick Jane. So Jane has an online program to help highly driven women and great ambitious whose wheels are spinning and getting traction. I'm definitely one of those ladies juggling a lot of things and trying to have a lot of spinning. Jane will have a huge amount of insight and just her experience. And when she speaks to people face to face, it might be that, she's chatting to me and she says, "Oh, Lindsay, what do you do?" When I chat to her, and she might ask me a couple of questions and I might ask her a question back, and she goes, "Oh, okay, well, you might find this useful." And I go, "Yes, I would." But then if I said to Jane, "Okay, Jane, post some content on digital marketing, maybe LinkedIn," she might go, and this probably isn't the case for Jane, but sometimes she'll go, "I don't know what to post." And the same applies to the telephone. So if I said to Jane, "Go and use the telephone," thinking about who I want to talk to, what I want to say to that person, but more importantly, what do I want that person to say yes to, or what do I want that person to do? That's about creating engaging content. So I've got a huge amount of examples that I want to bring to life for you today over the next couple of slides. But what is super duper important is listening. And as I said earlier, because you're smaller businesses, whether you've got one, whether it's just you doing a fantastic job yourself, or whether you have a small little amazing team of people, you are probably in direct contact with your customers. So you'll be speaking to them on the telephone, you'll be chatting to them on social media, you'll be emailing them, you'll maybe even be seeing them face to face if you have pop-up stores. What you have access to is pure gold in terms of content. So just by listening, actually, you can create some amazing content, whether that be on your website, in blog content, in email content, in social content. And I'm going to bring this to life over a couple of examples today. But by listening, you can actually then create content that's actually useful to your audience, whether they know about you or not. Don't be frightened if you're starting out on social media that you might have an Instagram account that you're starting off from zero. And you're thinking, well, if I post stuff on here, people aren't going to find me. If you use the right hashtags, which it's all about content, you will. And if it is about just an online business only, so I've just spotted that Tracy's like, what if it's an online business only? Don't worry, Tracy, I'm going to cover that in a little while. So the thing is, whether you have a physical store or whether you have a virtual store or whether you have both, you need to create content, because without creating content, you basically just walking into an empty room, whether it's posting stuff on social, whether it's using email marketing, whether it's your website. Content makes the internet go round. And when people are searching online, they're searching for content. So content is about engaging with humans. So if you think about it, it's about having a conversation with people. It's not about just blasting out things that you think might stick. And don't get me wrong, what I'm going to be covering today with you is quite a lot. So there's quite a lot of information I'm going to be covering with you. But the thing I want you to really take away is wearing your customer's shoes and just thinking about the conversation I just had with that customer, whether it's face-to-face, whether it's virtual via direct messaging, or whether it's just some insight I found about some insight I found from researching online. How can I turn that into content for my website? Or how can I turn it into a free webinar? Or how can I turn it into some sort of service? When it comes to content, think about three things. Content should always educate, inspire, or entertain. And I'm going to bring this to life with you, as I've said, with a few examples today. It isn't about selling. Ultimately, we're all here to sell. So is Social Bee. We want to sell training courses. We want to sell our services. But never will you see on any of our content any sort of sales pitch or any sort of general offer. We're all about giving away value. And if we give away great value, people will naturally gravitate to us and buy from us. And the same comes from retail in a lot of cases. I know myself, I'm often after education when it comes to what to wear, what to do with my hair. We turn to the internet all of the time, or how to do things. And I'm going to bring this to life in the example when it comes to nappies, because I am a parent and I don't have a blooming clue. When I had my little boy 2.5 years ago, I just turned to the internet to find out all of the answers to all of the questions, where to buy stuff, what to buy stuff, and how to become a better, more slightly eco-friendly parent. So always think about with your content, how can I be useful to somebody? How can I inspire somebody? Or how can I entertain somebody? Now, don't get me wrong, entertaining isn't about sort of jokes and laughs, especially if that isn't you. What this does mean, though, it's about being you. It's about being you as Lindsay, or it's about being Tracy. It's about being Graham. It's about being Lisa. It's about being Jane. People buy from you 9 times out of 10, and you probably have your business because you are really passionate about it. So you probably have loads of knowledge, inspiration, entertainment, and education that you can share with people. So what I would say is, if you do nothing else today, wear your customers' shoes. Think about when you have a conversation with people, whether that's online or offline. Okay, yeah, that's a useful hint and tip. I can turn that into a piece of content. I'm going to come on to that in a second. But this sheet here is probably very useful for you. So thinking about who you want to connect with, who is your target audience? And I'm going to bring this to life with you with my nappies example. So I'm a parent. I've been lucky enough to become a parent 2.5 years ago. And it isn't about, when you're trying to target people, it isn't just about demographics. So it isn't about the age of person or whether they're male or female. Think deeper than that. Think about why your existing customers, why they buy from you. So I'm going to reverse engineer this a bit, and it will all become, hopefully come to light in a couple of slides time. But the thing is, if you want to think about me, and if I bring my example to life for a second in terms of eco nappies. So let's rewind a little bit. I'm a parent. I was lucky enough to become a parent 2.5 years ago to my wonderful little child, Dylan, who is a little monkey, very cheeky, trying to find his own independence right now. And I didn't have a clue as a parent. I didn't go to the antenatal classes. I was like, no, I don't have time for that. Can't be bothered. I'll work it out as I go along. And I turned to Google. So I knew I needed to buy nappies. I'm not that silly. And I went out and just kitted myself out with all of the kit. Got a lot of hand-me-downs from my sister. So that was amazing. But within the first week of having Dylan, I had this huge dustbin bag full of dirty nappies. And I felt sick. I was like, this is disgusting. The amount of environmental impact. I know that nappies are so bad on the environment was horrendous. So I'm not some sort of eco warrior, but what I did very quickly is I turned to the internet and I started to search around trying to be a more sustainable parent. So how to be a more sustainable parent, how to be more eco-friendly as a parent. I had no idea that there were eco nappies out there or reusable nappies. So the reason I'm telling you is because if you are a company that is selling products, there are people that are not going to know that your product or your service exists. So you need to start almost further up the food chain. So who do you want to connect with? You want to connect with people that are trying to be more eco-conscious. You're trying to connect with parents. You're trying to connect with people that realize that plastic is not good for the environment. And then what content would you like to share? And I'm going to bring this to an example in a second. And then what type of content would you want to share? You would want to share that potentially on Facebook. You might want to create some blog content about it. And what do you want them to ultimately do? You want them to say yes to something. They might not say yes to buying something straight away, because although we're on the internet and we have a problem and we're trying to create a solution over it, we won't necessarily jump in and go, yep, that solution, I want to buy it today. But I might then follow you on social media. I might sign up to your email newsletter, etc., etc. So that's a very quick example in a nutshell, but I'm going to bring this to life with you over the next couple of slides. So how can you find out what content to create? I've already shared with you that you should listen to your customers. So listen to your customers in a virtual sense, in a physical sense, and think about the language that they use. Think about the questions that they ask you, because you can turn that into blog content. You can turn that into social media content. But let me bring this to life with you with my, sorry, it's a bit diverse, my nappy example, but I really want to bring it to life in a real case situation. So first of all is using the experience you already have. If you sell eco-friendly products, if you've decided to go into handmade jewelry, you will have a passion or an interest for that and a huge plethora of knowledge in terms of, you know, how should I do this or how should I do that? The second data point you can use, whether you just sell online or whether you sell online and in store, is using Google Analytics. So go into Google Analytics and have a look down the left-hand side under audience and channels and see the top landing pages or see the top blog landing pages people are going on. That will give you a good indicator. Another great tool to use is Google Search Console. Now, you might think you need to be a bit techie for this. You need to be a little bit techie. What we will probably do is every Thursday at 4 o'clock, we have a Facebook group, which we're going to share with you at the end. It's a free Facebook group and it's just for the retail community. And every Thursday we go live at 4 o'clock and we share some hints and tips and take live questions. So we might do a Google Search Console session in there. But if you Google it, basically Google Search Console basically tells you who is searching for things but not visiting your website. So it's a great tool to understand what people are searching on but not finding your website. But a couple of simpler tools to be able to use if you're feeling frightened about Google Analytics or Google Search Console is Google Trends. Google it. Just Google Trends and type in your product or your service. So if you sell chocolate, just type in chocolate. If you sell nappies, just type in nappies. And then you'll start to see what people are searching on. Now, the next tool is an amazing one. And this is the one that I've done a screen grab for you. And this is Answer the Public. It is a free tool and you can literally type in anything on it. And what it will do, so I typed in this morning, I typed in nappies. You might be thinking that's a bit of a random example, but I'm trying to bring to life the example that I'm sharing with you today. So I typed in the word nappies and the answers I get, I've got a whole spectrum of answers that you can see at the top. And I've just pulled out a section here. So I just typed in nappies, and what Answer the Public does for free is it goes away and says, these are the questions and these are the things that people are typing into the internet. And it isn't just for the UK. So for those of you that are in Germany and various other countries, you pick the country drop down. So I just picked the UK for today. But as you can see here, people are typing in, are nappies made of plastic? Or are nappies bad for the environment? Now, you might think, what use is that, Lindsay, for an eco-friendly nappy brand? Well, for people that are not aware that there are eco nappies out there, which I was not aware at the time, that bit of content there is a blog post. So I would be turning a blog post. I would do a blog post on, are nappies made of plastic? Or are nappies bad for the environment? That is a bit of blog content. So that will be a blog article. And if you sold eco nappies, you could tell me nappies are not good for the environment. They take 400 years to even start to decompose. There are millions of nappies being disposed every day of the week. And it is just a huge, enormous, awful problem. Then what you can do is you can share with people some hints and tips of how to be more eco-conscious. And obviously, if you write that blog post and it's really engaging and you think about SEO, which obviously we're not covering in great detail today, but you can certainly do some Google on it or join some of our other webinars, then you can get it to the top of Google. And in which case, it then is found organically. And so the process continues. You can also turn it into social content. So that is just one example of how to think about creating content sources and content ideas. So it's a great way of thinking about how to create content. So this is where I'm going to go a bit risque on things. What I would like you to do now is in the chat, tell me the company that you are, so the name of your company and what you sell, your product or your service. And I'm going to think like a customer and I'm going to come up with some blog content for you off the cuff, thinking like a customer. So Hanix Gardening Products. I'm going to go with you, Sarah, because you've been very kind and I know you've attended all of our webinars and you've joined our Facebook group and you haven't been lucky enough to win some free consultancy yet. So I'm going to go with you. Thank you, Sarah, for all of your commitment so far. So Sarah sells garden products. I haven't been on her website, so I don't know what type of garden product she sells. But what I would be doing content-wise is I would be doing this. And what I'm going to do is, because so many of you have done this, I'm going to do another one. Don't worry, I'll pick another one of you at random. So if you sell garden products, Sarah, I'm going to guess it might be spades. It might be some funky wellies. I'm just guessing. It might be plants. But let's just pick one of those. So say as an example, Sarah sells gardening products. Say she sells plants. People are looking on the internet all of the time for how to do things like what I should be planting in my garden, what I should be planting in the seasons, how I can be better at using some small space. So I would be turning to Answer the Public and I would type in one word. I might type in gardening. I might type in small gardening space. I would also type into Google Trends gardening and see what types of topics comes up. But the thing is, people thrive on knowing how to do things. So if I was Sarah, I would probably be doing one blog post a week if I had the time, if not one a month, and it would be hints on tips on what to do in my garden this week or this season. Or if it's all around small products, I'll be doing hints and tips of how I can make my garden much more enjoyable during difficult times in COVID. And the thing is, once Sarah's created that bit of content, she could do a bit of video content on it. She could do 20 social posts on it. She could do a huge amounts of hints and tips. So I'll come up with all that stuff without knowing Sarah, just knowing that she has gardening products. So let us have another peek. Oh my goodness, you do so many things. We've got hostel rooms, we've got shoes, shoe hangers, we've got landscape paintings, we've got optical glasses, we've got candles. Oh my goodness, I'm spoilt for choice. Let's go for a really hard one because I know sometimes things are really tricky. Let's go for landscape paintings. So landscape paintings, you probably think, how could I create content, useful content from landscape paintings? I'm guessing, Galia, that your landscape paintings are actually paintings that I could put up on my wall. So with Galia, I hope I've pronounced your name correctly, what I would be doing is if I did landscape paintings, and there's plenty of amazing landscapes in Norfolk if you're ever looking for a place to get some more inspiration, I would be educating people, because if it is, I don't know if it's, high-end stuff, sort of high-end investment landscape paintings, or more mainstream, so like 30, 40 pounds, please forgive me. But let's just come up with some examples. What I would be doing is if people, if my target audience is high-end, then people might be searching online for how to pick a painting to fit with the rest of my room, or they might be thinking, what size painting should I have in my room? Or they might be thinking, inspiration for how to dress a wall. So they are just some blog tips that you could have to bring to life to get people to your website. You could also do some behind the scenes stuff. So what inspires you to create your paintings? If you're more regular level, so maybe you're selling your paintings, I don't know, for £30 to £100, for example, you could do that type of content as well. But what you could also do is thinking about behind the scenes stuff. So what inspires people, some hints and tips. You could also maybe do some live and just try and educate people on where your inspiration comes from, and also thinking about some hints and tips on like why landscape paintings might be a good idea as a gift. So none of this is selling. It's all about providing value. So they're just two examples. They're probably not perfect, but they're off the cuff and thinking like a customer. If I was thinking about landscape paintings or trying to think about some gardening products. So it's just trying to think outside of the box. But if I was working with either of those organizations, and you guys can do this too now because I've told you how to do it, think about why people buy your product or your service. Go on to Google Analytics, Google Search Console, go on to Answer the Public. One more tip for you, go and have a look in forums. So if there is a gardening forum or a gardening group, as an example for Sarah, go and have a look and see what questions people are asking as people that are keen gardeners. And also think about looking at reviews. So having a look at reviews on Amazon or other product related sites, and have a look what people are saying, what works well, what they love about a product, what questions they have about a product, and that can be turned into great content as well. And also just keep an eye on your competitors. Just because your competitors might be doing better content in your eyes might not mean that actually it's great content in your customers' eyes. But ultimately, the thing to think about is have a value mindset, not a sales mindset. Because yes, if you're selling a product, you need to sell your product, absolutely. But if you just post content out there, if you're thinking about how can I get more traffic to my website, posting a piece of blog content or posting a social media post that is just saying, come and get this product for £20, £30, £40, you will start to get a couple of sales, and you can post that content on social media, once every 10 or once every 20, and you can do emails from it. But you really annoy people. If I'm being blatantly honest, I'm getting huge amounts of emails from brands at the moment, whether it be Funky Pigeon, all types of other products, and all they're doing is bombarding me with emails of offers. Now, the thing is, I have wants and needs at the moment. So I need to send cards to people because I'm stuck locally. I can't travel, so I'm not going to see people on their birthday. So I am buying cards. But I'm not buying cards because someone is offering it to me at a deal. I'm trying to buy cards now more that are really personalized. So actually, there was a lady, when I'm looking through the free consultancies and deciding when we're picking people at random, I do have a look. And there was an amazing lady last week. I should have made a note of her brand, but her handmade stationery was amazing. I'm like, wow, that'd be really good for a personal gift. So it isn't always about price. It's about personalization. So bringing your brand to life and adding value and adding those personal touches. So knowing what to say, this is the question that we probably get asked a lot. And I've covered quite a lot of this off in terms of hints and tips today. But put your customers' shoes on. And if you do nothing else today, just listen to your customers and think about the questions they're asking you, like, is your product eco-friendly? That could be a blog post, or where do your products come from? That could be a product post, or how to be better at gardening. You know, oh, I'm really looking forward to planting this product in my garden, but I'm really rubbish at gardening. There is a blog post. There is a bit of video content. So just start to open up your ears a little bit more and just listen a little bit more. So really just thinking about that. So here are a couple of examples. Some of them are social media examples. Some of them are blog examples. I've cantered through quite a lot today, but I just really wanted to bring this to life to you even more. So I'm not going to name and shame any organizations here apart from one. It's going to be a bit of a quiz, but this one I'm not going to name and shame. It was a company I spoke to a couple of weeks ago. They're not in this community. They came from, they actually inquired with us. But this is just a prime example in terms of creating content that's actually going to captivate and engage people. So this company here sell amazing Turkish food products. They have the best virgin olive oil in the world. They have the best baklava in the world, and they have a physical store. And they also have an online presence as well. And they contacted us a couple of weeks ago and said, we're not generating any sales online. We've just moved online because our store got shut down. We really need help in how to sell online. So I had a conversation with them and I said, so, okay, who are your target audience? Who buy from you and why? And they said there's two audiences. First of all, it's a very affluent audience. So they are people that very affluent, they have lots of money, and they want to buy the best products. Basically, they want to show off. So when they do have people around for dinner, or when they have a Zoom call with their friends, they want to go, oh, I bought this amazing olive oil today. It's the best Turkish olive oil in the world. So that's the first bit I parked in my brain. Their second target audience are foodies. So they are people that really want to buy really good food, and they're the people that will read the ingredients list and go, oh, okay, yep, this olive oil is made in Turkey. It's, you know, it's the best olive oil because it's da 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 da. And hello, Oslam, you're from Turkey, so you all know the best Turkish products in the world. So I understood their target audience, and then I went onto their social media channel. And here lies the first problem. As you can see on the left-hand side, this is the type of content they're posting. Now, the orange bits are covering up their content because I don't want to show who they are, because I don't want to embarrass them. But hopefully my hints and tips have been useful. So when I scrolled through their Instagram channel, I was just getting posts with, you can buy this olive oil for £11. You can buy this baklava for £12. And I'm like, so if neither of your target audience are driven by price, why are you then posting social media content just touting price? You're not going to engage any of your content. So what I did is I mocked up a post, and this is the one on the right hand side. So this is all about educating and inspiring people. So I've ticked two of my boxes. So I created this post for them just as a sample. This is not one of our clients, by the way. This is just a pure example to help bring it to life. This example here is a post that we created. So they sell amazing organic chickpeas. And we've shown here why chickpeas are really good. So they're a good source of fiber. So we're educating people and inspiring. We're not selling. But the thing is, their foodie audience, who we know are going to be on Instagram, and so will their affluent audience, it's about engaging them. So it's about telling them about a product subtly, organic chickpeas, but it isn't about selling them. It's about educating people on the fact that actually chickpeas are so diverse. You can use them in so many ways. Here is why are they good for you? Here's a way of using them, but also how do you use them? So we're asking a question as well. So it's just about thinking about it from your audience's point of view, not from here's a channel, let's just post our wares and sell on it. So that's one example for you. Here's another example for you, and this is from our own website. So I know we don't retail things, but this is a B2B example for those B2B retailers out there. Hopefully this helps. So as an example, we're Social B, we're an international digital marketing agency, and we help businesses to generate profitable revenue online, whether we're training people or whether we're doing it for them. And we know through carrying out the tools and the tips and the things that I've shared with you today, that people type into Google how to set digital marketing objectives. It's a question that people want answered all of the time. So what did we do? We created a blog post on it. And as you can see here is the blog post. If you type that into Google, we do come up on the first page of Google. So we're trying to be helpful. First tip, yes, we've educated people and we're inspiring people. Tick. So we are being helpful. And you're probably thinking, well, Lindsay, I want to be helpful, but I want to generate sales. I'm not here to be helpful and not generating sales. Here is my next tip. The thing that you need to bear in mind is you need to then encourage people to do things. So down the right-hand side, you can see on my screen, we've shared with you some useful content. But what we're then doing is saying, why don't you sign up to our free hints and tips and share your challenges with us? Because what we'll then do is give you more content. So obviously we're then putting people in our email list and we're then emailing things. So it's just one simple way of how you can be helpful, but also you can be educating people. And the other thing is, if you go to our website and you have a look at this blog post, we know that people won't necessarily sign up to our service straight away because they're in their early stages of investigating or looking for things, whether it's eco nappies or whether it is thinking about how can I upskill myself on digital. So people might sign up to our email, but they might not sign up to our email. They might be feeling a bit nervous still. But if my social media channels are on my website, people might think, that's a really good blog post. That was really helpful. I'm going to follow them on social media. And when I'm ready, or I might, when I'm ready, if I do want to purchase from them, then I'll purchase, but I really want some more inspiration from them. So here is a quiz for you. And this is a really good example of a lot of organizations think, I'm struggling with content. I'm just going to jump on every international day there is on the planet. So what I would like you to do in the chat now is have a look at the post in front of you. This was a post that was done last week. And I've currently covered the brand, but I am going to reveal them because I want to just highlight that you shouldn't jump on every international day just because it is happening. I would like you to tell me in chat, either have a guess at the name of the brand or what industry this brand was in. So the name of the brand, have a guess at the name of the brand or the industry it was in. Drop it in the chat and let's have a guess and see if you can guess what business this was, posted this on Facebook. So someone has said food, technology industry, Greggs, wine, food, retail, restaurant. You'd like to think food or hospitality. Yes, Sarah, I would. Someone's, okay, so we're all thinking food. Well, it was a council. It was St Ives Council just outside Cambridge. How is that not relevant? It is not relevant on a whole host of levels. So just because there is an International Day of Everything, please do not jump on it. Make sure that you are aligned to what's going on with your organization, what's going on with your industry, perhaps if stuff's going on in the wider ether of things, but only if it's relevant. St Ives Council, if you're listening today, please have another go at your social media. I appreciate we're in hard times, but this really isn't relevant to your organization. And you have made me feel hungry. I do now want to eat a chocolate eclair and an onion ring, but it is not relevant. You are not helping me in terms of being relevant to me. I don't live in St Ives Council area, but if I did, this is not the sort of stuff that's going to be relevant and engaging with me. So I'm sorry to name and shame in public, but sometimes we have to do it. Here is another example, and this is again bringing the brand to life. So we've already taken you on a bit of a journey with my eco nappies, haven't I? So when I decided that I wanted to be a bit more eco-friendly, having had this massive dustbin of nappies, I turned to the internet and I started to search. I didn't know there were eco nappies out there. I had no idea there were reusable nappies out there. So I just turned to Google and I said, how can I be more eco-conscious as a parent? Or how can I just be more eco-conscious as a parent and help reduce the plastic impact on the environment? So eco nappies, Eco Nappy by Natty, are probably one of the most popular selling eco nappies on the market. However, they are totally missing a trick. And I want to bring this to life for you. Go and have a look at their website, because when you go to their website, their content on their website, on their main homepage, if you already know about them or already looking very particularly for eco nappies, then you will find them. But as I'm already telling you, I didn't know that eco nappies existed. And this is where they're totally missing a trick. So in front of you here is a screen grab of their blog page. So their blog pages consist of Natty wins Eco Nappy Award. That's great, but blogs are not news. They are not blowing your own trumpet. Blogs are all about creating content that educates, inspires, or entertains people. Podcast out now, that's news. Scandinavian inspired design. None, if you scroll through their blog posts, none of them cover the content that I suggested with you. So if I just flick back very quickly, hopefully it wasn't too far back, I can't remember now, this one here, why on earth have they not created a blog post on, are nappies made of plastic, or are nappies bad for the environment? That is pure gold. They are not answering the issues of their customer, are they, Lynn, as you have highlighted? Why would you not want to do that? What I can see from looking at their content on social media, so their social media isn't too bad to begin with, to be fair. So their blog content, they're totally missing a trick. They're doing a bit of SEO to be found organically, but they could be doing so much more just by creating blog content around people like me trying to find their product. Now, don't get me wrong, I did find their product, but I found it in Boots. But in the environment we're now in, less people are going to be going in store. So why are they not thinking about how can they find people online? They should be creating blog content about that, because it is pure gold. People are wanting to have their solution, but they don't know it even exists. Now, don't get me wrong, their social media isn't too bad. So I had a look on their Instagram channel and it's fun. So, you know, they are aligning with parents. So the one on the left-hand side made me laugh a lot. Sleeping with your toddler is like sharing a bed with a drunk octopus. An octopus with car keys. Yes, I have a super king size bed. My husband and I share it because that's what beds are for. But I have my son who starts off in his own bed. Come midnight, he is in my bed. And of course, he doesn't want to lay the logical way in the bed, does he? He wants to lay the other way. And he is like a drunk octopus with car keys. He is, we don't get any sleep. So obviously aligning with our audience and being entertaining, yes, I would have clicked like on that. And obviously then they're then playing the algorithm game. And then here on the right-hand side, there is their post, curious about plant-based potty made from sugarcane. Yes, I am. Like, I didn't know about that. So they're asking me a question and then they're educating me. So this content is great. But what they're doing, I can see this because they're not even using hashtags, is they're paying for all of this content to be targeted out. But if they actually created really good blog content, I am going to reach out to them. I just have real passion for this and frustration. I'm going to give it all to them, like just give them this hints and tips for free. They could be creating so much better content. And Jill, if Suzanne allows us, we could actually do a whole session on blog content if she allows. So what makes great content? First of all, in terms of social media, asking questions. In terms of if you're trying to create engaging social media content, ask questions. You don't have to post the answer to things. You can facilitate that content. Photos and videos with content gets a lot more engaging, whether it be on social media, on your blog post as well. So if you are creating blog content, think about creating video, and I'm going to come on to that in a second. But fundamentally, hopefully what I've shared with you today is being you. People buy your product or your service because you are being you. Thinking about the customer, so putting their shoes on and ultimately giving value. Now, what I have shared on this post is, because we could do an all-day session on creating captivating content, is there is a link here. So when the slides get shared, if you have a click on that link, there is a video there. It's a live I did on YouTube a couple of weeks ago about Content Marketing 101. So either head over to our YouTube channel and look for it there, or when you get a copy of the slides, click on that link there and you will have another whole half an hour of how to create captivating content. So in terms of content production, what you probably are seeing is that content can't just like be created overnight. And you're probably thinking, Lindsay, I run my business on my own. I don't have time for half of the things that you're sharing with me today. Thank you, Suzanne, for sharing that link. I don't have half of the time that you're talking about today. What I've shared with you already today is if you just put your customer shoes on. So I know that we're in hard times, and I know that some of you may not be getting any sales at the moment, but you have to spend a little bit of time on this. So think about not freestyling, because if you're just freestyling content, you're probably chucking a lot of money and time away in terms of just, oh, I'll post this today because I need to post something on social media. I'm just going to do a blog post on this. Even if you can just spend 10 minutes or 15 minutes going on to Answer the Public and going, Lindsay said I really need to do some blog content. So I'm going to commit myself this month to do one bit of blog content, and I want to make it really useful. So I'm going to listen to my customers over the next week. I'm then going to think, okay, that's interesting. Then I'm going to go to Answer the Public, typing the subject, and I'm going to pick one blog post that I'm going to do. That's all the planning you need to do. You then have to write it, and you might think, I'm not great at writing content. Neither am I. I hate writing content, but what I am really good at genuinely and generally is understanding the customer and coming up with great titles and knowing the answers. So here's a little secret for you. First of all is you don't have to write it yourself. Second of all, it doesn't necessarily have to be a bit of blog content. It can be a bit of video content. So here are 2 tips for us. First of all, if you have a mobile phone, you can record yourself saying it. So if you're not great at writing content, here's a tip for you. There is an amazing bit of software out there called, what is it called? It is called Document Direct. Have a Google of it. He had joined one of my free sessions a couple of weeks ago. There are these amazing secretaries up in Liverpool, and you can sign up to the app. I think it's free to sign up to the app. But basically, you dictate it into your phone. You send it over to them. They write it up. They're legal secretaries, so they write it up perfectly. They can then send it back to you, and you can get it on your website. Now, that does cost a bit of money, but it's a better use of time if you're not great at creating content. If you want to do video content, then think about your hints and tips. So think about content in terms of what 3 tips would you want to give away? So if I read a bit of blog content, what 3 things would be really helpful for me to take away? Have a look at that, how to create a digital marketing objective, because you'll see there we just share things in a very succinct manner. So only if you create 1 bit of blog content a month, that's a great journey to be going on. And guess what? When you create that blog content, there are about 20 bits of social media posts that you could be pulling out of that content. So now let's move on to the next tip in terms of content. I've sort of started to give some sneak tips away on this. How do you guys like to take in content? So drop in the chat. Do you generally like to read content, watch content, or listen to content? So whether you're looking for a solution to a problem or whether you're just trying to learn about something, how do you like to digest content? Some lady likes all 3. I like a multitasker. Some people like to watch, read, all. Okay, listen. Okay. Here is my next tip for you. Blog content, which is content, creating captivating content at the end of the day, is a great way to create content for your social media channels, for your email channels. But as you are starting to see today, we don't just like to read content. Some of us like to watch it. Some of us like to listen to it. So how can we create that blog content and maximize it? If you create a bit of blog content, why not turn it into a piece of video? So what I'm saying to you today is if you create 1 bit of content, you only create it as a blog, you're missing out on 2/3 of your audience, your potential audience, because some people here today like to listen, some people like to watch, some people like all 3. But if you've created 1 bit of content, and the example I've shared with you today is how to wear a fascinator. Us in the UK, we love a fascinator at a wedding. So if you're thinking about going, and hopefully there's weddings coming again soon, I think you can have 30 people in a room. But if you are thinking about going to a wedding, you think, oh, fascinators really don't suit me. Or maybe you've been given a fascinator, maybe you're upcycling a fascinator that somebody's given you. You probably type into Google, how to wear a fascinator. So if you're a fascinator company, first of all, you should be doing a blog post on that because people are searching on it every month. And you can see here, Fascinators Direct, the ultimate guide of how to wear a fascinator. Martin, a fascinator is a lovely bit of feathery thing that ladies wear on their heads at weddings. So that is what a fascinator is. But you can also create a video bit of content. So as you can see here, if you Google how to wear a fascinator, feathery hat, yep, Joe, that is exactly what it is. So if I was a fascinator company, I would be doing a blog content on it, and I would also be doing a bit of video content on it. And I'd also then be sharing that content on social media. And you might think, well, I created that content 2 years ago. It's wedding season. It's coming up to wedding season. Why not reshare that content? What you can also do is email it out to your database because people might have be digging out their fascinators from last year or might be thinking about how can I wear a fascinator with a different outfit? All of this is pure gold. The other thing you could do is turn it into a podcast. Now, you're probably thinking, Lindsay, now that's a whole other piece of technology. It is, but there's a useful podcast app out there called Anchor. And the thing is, you don't have to recreate the wheel. So I'm not asking you to create another piece of content. I'm asking you to take 1 bit of content and push it into another situation. Now, what I don't want you to do is just read out your blog post in a podcast, because that would be very boring. What you might want to do is have a chat with someone. So it might be you want to have a chat with a customer and say, what are the problems that you have with a fascinator, or how do you choose? And you can give some hints and tips away. Or it might be that there's a couple of you within your organization and you share some hints on tips on how to wear a fascinator. But the thing I'm sharing with you is maximize that content to within an inch of its life, because blog content, people think, oh, I created blog content 2 years ago, I can't reuse it. Absolutely, you can. 1 bit of blog content should be used on so many different things. You can use it to get to the top of Google. You can turn it into a piece of video content. You can use it to email out to your database. You can create ads around it. You can create a podcast on it. If you're a little bit nervous about how to create video content, then there is a link in here as well. So there's some great tips of how to create video content. And you could also do some live. So you could go on Instagram live, you could do YouTube live, you could do Facebook live. There are so many things you can do with one piece of content. So what I would suggest you create one bit of hero content, as it were, create one bit of hero content once a quarter or once a month, and then use that in everything you do online. But it does boil down to planning. So focus on your target audience, listen, plan ahead with a bit of a content plan, even if it's written in your notebook. Allow for flexibility. So if you've suddenly seen a plethora of people asking for something this week, then turn it into a piece of blog content. And think about what you're ultimately trying to achieve. So make sure you're not St. Ives Council, and make sure all of your content is focused on your audience. So I'm just going to wrap up with some essential tools before we take any hints, tips and questions. So don't forget, if you have any questions, drop them in the chat and we'll spend the last 8 minutes answering some questions. So if you are thinking about scheduling your content on social media, then Hootsuite and Buffer are great places to go. If you're thinking about creating images, whether it be for your social media channel or your live or your video content, the links that Suzanne shared here, those images can be created in Canva. So Canva is a free tool that you can use. Editing images, if you have created a sort of a thumbnail for your video, a great tool that I use is Fonto. So a Fonto is it's an app you can buy for $2.99 and you can overlay text. If you want to edit video, my favorite tool is InShot. I am not a video editor. We do have Josh in our office to do that, but I do a lot of video editing myself and I use InShot. You can buy it for £30 or pay it on a monthly basis. And finally, some free images. So a free image tool you can use is Pexels and Pixabay. So if you are something like the landscape painting lady, or if you're looking for loads of great images that you don't have to pay for, then Pexels and Pixabay are great. But also your iPhones, do some YouTube videos on how to create better photos, because you all have probably the great products in house and you could be using those. So my core takeaways today are a lot. How to start creating great content that fits your audience, where to get your content ideas from, and how to maximize your content. So I know I have covered a lot. I imagine probably your pens have run out, your pencils need sharpening, and you're probably thinking, Lindsay, that is far too much. So I wanted to give away as much as I could today. You will have a recording of this so you can watch it at your own leisure. But if you take one thing away today, get those customer shoes on, listen to your customers, and just take one bit of content and turn it into one piece of useful content. That is the best thing that you can do, and just start to take each day as it comes. So I'm now more than happy to take any questions. And while we take questions, I'm going to leave you with our amazing free resources. And don't forget to join our Facebook group, because we go live every Thursday at 4 p.m. taking questions for 30 minutes. So any questions that you would like to ask me?
Oh, we've had a few. Just to let you all know, all of these links will be in the email that we send you straight after this session with the recording. So don't worry if you can't click on them on the screen, you'll have them within a few minutes. We do have one, and I'm going to start with this one from Shirley that came in really early on. She says, I sell clothing. The thought of not posting a pic of my clothes to sell still terrifies me. My competitors are all posting selling pics a few times a day. Does it really work to sell non-selling pics? To post non-selling pics?
Yes, it does. If you I'm not saying don't do what you do, but you would probably sell so much more. Even big businesses like John Lewis. So John Lewis, and if you think about, if people came into your store, now I don't know if you were selling online or offline, but let's just assume you were selling offline. You'll get people that come into your store and go, I've been wanting that black top for ages. I live in black, sorry. I've been wanting that black top for ages. I come in and I buy it. But how many people come into your store and say, I need help? And I'm one of those people. I go into the stores, or used to, I'd go into the stores and say, I need help. I'm going to be talking at a big conference next week, or I've got a wedding coming up, or I'm just fed up with my wardrobe. What should I wear? That is the pure content that you should be putting on your social media channel. John Lewis are doing it. They've got their own personal dress consultants now doing videos and things. That stuff, you will get more sales, you'll get more followers, you'll get more fans to your pages, and you'll get more people signing up and buying stuff from you.
Okay, great. I thought we'd start on that one because I think that's just about giving her confidence to try something different.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So the next question actually just came through the chat, and I'm going to mention it first. She says, do you risk saturating the content if your audience is on your email list but also follows you on social media too? So if you're using the same content for multi-purposes?
That's a good question. I actually did that question with a gentleman called Andy Bounds. So if you go over to our podcast, Andy Bounds is an amazing sales trainer. And I did a podcast with him a couple of weeks ago on how B2Bs can use social media. And he repeats content on his social media. And I said, how do you think that goes? And he said, the thing is, whether you post it on social media or whether you use it on email marketing, if people find it's useful, then it's not oversaturation. So let me bring this to life for you. So I might not have been on social media today, but I might have opened my emails today. And whether you've posted it on email, then I might go, oh yeah, that's great. That's useful, or that isn't useful, but I really like their content. I'm not going to delete it. And if I go over to social media and think, oh, actually, yeah, I've seen that twice. I must remember to do that. You might want to mix it up. I'm not saying you would post your blog post today and then go posting on social media and email marketing. Just because you're using the same content doesn't mean you have to post it all on the same day. So it might be that you post it all out at once and see how that goes. Or it might be that you create your blog post, you then email it out to begin with and say, here's some exclusive content we haven't shared on social media yet. And then you share it on social media a couple of weeks later. I would say test it, see what works. But what I wouldn't be frightened of is oversaturating with the same content on the channels, because that just shows you're aligned, and that's what you should be doing.
Okay, great. Question on podcasts. How long do you recommend a podcast should be?
Now, that's a very good question. Think about the quality of the content, not the length of the content. So as an example, I used to listen to a lot of podcasts. I used to travel every other week. So my ears were always full of podcast content because it's how I used to travel and listen at the same time. Focus on the value. So if you're sharing something, so if it's a podcast on how to wear a fascinator, it might only be 5 minutes long, because you can't talk about how to wear a fascinator for an hour, I would assume. But if it's something really detailed, then it might be an hour long. It might even be 2 hours long. Think about the usefulness, think about the outcomes that you want to achieve with it. And when you outline what you're going to cover in that podcast, that will probably dictate how long it is. But don't be forced on time. Don't think this podcast needs to be 10 minutes. Go with it and record for however long it is. And you can always cut bits out if you like.
Yep, great. Is there a platform for blogs that is better than another? What would you recommend?
That is a very good question, Suzanne. Your blog should be on your website. Many, many moons ago, shows how old I am and how long I've been working in digital marketing. So I've been working in digital marketing, and originally way back when they said, have a separate blog to your website. But if you have a website, you absolutely want your blog sitting within your website. So have a look at our website and you'll see how it's all structured. We have our website, and then on the right hand side, we have resources, and then we have our blog sitting within that. But you could just have blog. If you go to Natty, the Eco Nappies, you'll see they have the blog tab there. So your blog should sit within your website. So if you use WordPress or some of the other main platforms, they have that facility, or it's called the news section, just rename it blog. It would sit within your platform itself. If you're just selling online, maybe you're just selling on Instagram and you don't have a website, then I would suggest WordPress.
Okay, fantastic. Another question. So I think, again, this is all about blogs. So do you just post a new blog onto your website, or should you be doing something else with it?
Good question. I'm going to answer that one, Suzanne, but Martin has just posted a good question, which I want to answer as part of the previous question. So Martin's just said, I'm on Etsy. I don't have a blog. So Martin, you should have a blog. What I would do is I would set up a website, a WordPress website, and just start posting blog content, because it's then content that you can then post on social media and then drive people to an Etsy store, or hey ho, you can actually create a website and sell your products directly. So back to your question, Suzanne, which was, what was it?
Obviously, when you've posted a blog post, do you need to do anything with it? So do you just post a new blog onto your website, or should you be doing something else with it too?
So what you should do when you post your blog post onto your website is really think about the title. Think about, is it going to captivate me? And maybe when we do this separate blog section, which I'd be more than happy to do, we'll cover that in more detail. So in your blog. So your blog will be made of it's basically news articles, but just forget the word news, it's blog. So it's just article, article, article. You want a separate article section for every one of your blog posts. Again, if you go and have a look at our website, you'll see how it's structured. You'd want a title. Once you've posted it on your website, don't just leave it on there. Make sure you then take a link and you post it onto your social media channel. Please do not say on your social media post, here is our latest blog post. What is the incentive for clicking through? Put the title in there, or maybe pull out a tip in there and go, here's one of our tips. Our tip for How to Wear a Fascinator is wear it on one side. For all our other hints and tips, go over to our blog post. So when you've posted it on your website, it will sit there and it will start to be found by search engines if you've written it in the right way. But then make sure you're pointing people to it through your social media channels and your email marketing as well.
Okay. Really interesting question, actually. You mentioned when you post blogs onto your website, when you post content, you always ask people to do something else there. A question came through. It said, is it important to link your educational content with what you sell? For example, I sell some eco-friendly products and I can see I could do some educational posts around that. Should I immediately point them out to the product? How do you integrate the product into those posts?
That is a super duper question. So that is a very good question. So as my example shared, down the right-hand side, you can encourage people to sign up to your newsletter, but give them a reason. Don't just say sign up to our newsletter. Say we'll share hints and tips, or we'll do this, or we'll do offers. That's fine. But within your blog post, absolutely. So if I was Natty Eco Nappies, first of all, I would have written a blog post on our nappies made of plastic, and I would say, yes, they are made of plastic, blah, blah, blah. And if you are conscious about the environment and you're looking for eco-friendly nappies, here is a link, and you link them to your product. So absolutely, I would do that. But it's a subtle link. It's not selling. It's just a subtle link and educating people, but then directing them to the right page on your website or to your Etsy store or wherever you want to send them.
Okay, great. Question, I think this is more recommendations. I think you went through a lot of tools as you went through. Question from Amy. She said, which scheduler app would you recommend for Instagram with a larger free limit than 30? Do any exist?
I don't think any exist. You're going to have to pay, I'm afraid. We use Hootsuite. It's not foolproof. Buffer may be worth a look if you're not using anything. If you're not using that, I'd maybe give Buffer a try.
Yeah. And there's a few questions came through. There was one really nice one from Rebecca that's in the chat, actually, Lindsay. And there's another one further up. I think when you open the floodgates, people asking for advice on content, a few more examples have come through of people asking for really specific. So I don't know if you're happy to do maybe one more.
Yeah, sure. Let's,
Yeah.
Why not?
Just one more. So it's a question from Rebecca. It's in the chat. She says, I have a boutique shop selling jewelry, bags, bath bombs and gifts. I find Instagram and Facebook really daunting. I struggle for ideas and just wonder how best it is to promote the jewelry I sell. I don't feel confident enough to talk about it or model the pieces myself.
Okay.
She's got a few things to work with there.
She has got a few things to work with. Jewelry is great. Bath bombs is great. Gifting is great. I think because she's got so much stuff that might overwhelm her. And also, if she's not confident in going on camera herself, don't worry, Rebecca. I hate being on camera. I'm really not comfortable sitting here. But I know that I'm really passionate about what I do, and I really want to help other businesses. So I have to feel that actually people want my help. So I have to get used to it. But do check out my YouTube live on how to get comfortable on video, because I was like that, Rebecca, and I really didn't like it. But the thing is, Rebecca, if you're selling your products and you're selling jewelry and clothing and gifting and bath bombs and things, if people came into your store, people will be looking for gifts. So if you think about things like if you're wanting, let's just come and think of an example. So it might be Mother's Day. So Mother's Day might be coming up, and you might go, well, there's this gift and there's that gift, and you might think, okay, well, it's if you're struggling to buy for your mum because she's got all the jewelry in the world, or she's got this, or she's got that. What you could do is a little blog post on how to buy your mum a great jewelry gift that maybe she doesn't have, or different ways to wear your jewelry. You could do a little video on how to wear jewelry in a different way, or you could have neck scarves. I live in neck scarves. You could say how to wear neck scarves. Now, you are going to have to get on camera. If you're not feeling comfortable on camera, then maybe you could just take some pictures, and you don't even have to have your headshot in it. So you could just do some how-to bits of content.
Okay, thank you. So I thought it was a nice one to maybe just end on the example. I did have another question come through, and I think this is, we've had a lot of people sharing their businesses and their links in the side, and a lot of you want to connect with each other. Obviously, we can't give you contact details, but two things: you can all join the Facebook group, and that'll give you really easy access to other people's contacts. Alternatively, for this one, if you want to post up in the chat your contact details, I'll leave them up for about 10 minutes and then I'll go and I'll delete them. So if you have people who've asked you for contact details, we'll do that for this once, just because I can see so many of you have shared and asked for it. So I think it's a good thing to do. And lastly, if Lindsay is up for it, I'm happy to schedule a blog session, Lindsay. So you might be sorry you said that.
No, that's fine. I love talking about blogs. It's such an underutilized resource. It's like pure gold. So yeah, absolutely, be more than happy to do a session on that. And like you said, the Facebook group is there. It's absolutely there for businesses to interact with each other, and we go live every Thursday at 4 o'clock. So you can grill me or any one of our team for 30 minutes every Thursday at 4. It's absolutely free. And we just really trying to help as many retailers as possible at the moment. Charlotte, my colleagues, just shared a link in the chat as well.
Yeah. So Lindsay, thank you so much. I've learned so much on this, actually. I've learned about Answer the Public. I'd never heard of that before. So it's always great when I pick up a few things that we can take back to our marketing. So thank you so much for your time, and thank you everyone for joining us this morning.
Thank you. See you later.